Hi, this is Amanda Kraus. I'm the CEO of US Rowing, and I just wanted to send a quick message to all of the seniors who are graduating or have graduated this year. You're a very special group of student athletes. I hope you know that we are all cognizant of what a really, really hard year and a half this has been. Stuck at home, in Zoom school, being quarantined on and off for many of you, losing a lot of really precious time on the water. And I know this has not been easy. All of us at US Rowing know this has not been easy. And we hope you know how much we're rooting for you this weekend and how proud we are of you for graduating from high school, getting through this and getting to the other side of COVID. And we're really excited for what's next for all of you in your lives. And we hope that rowing is a part of it.
Hi, sorry, I was muted and I couldn't figure out how to unmute myself. I'm Caitlin Gregian, and I'm gonna walk you guys through the host, myself and Akil, and our class speaker, Zeke. So first I'm gonna introduce Akil and let him talk to you guys. Akil is an Olympian. He's also a hydro athlete, and he's a software engineer for hydro as well. He's a musician. He plays the saxophone, and from what I hear, he plays very, very well. So that's pretty cool. But even cooler than that is he's a surfer. So we're looking at, I would say, a Renaissance man. Akil graduated from George Washington University. He won the Diamond Sculls at the Royal Henley Regatta, which I think is maybe the coolest thing I've ever heard, because there's not a whole lot of men's sculling happening in the USA right now. So he's definitely an icon in that regard. He raced in the 2004 Olympics in the men's double. He was the first Black man to compete in rowing in the Olympics. And he was also the first men's double to qualify from the United States of America in 20 years when they qualified in 2004. So pretty exciting stuff. And take it away, Akil.
Okay, well, wow, you took away all of my material. I was gonna do my humble brag, like I did this and I did that.
Keep bragging, keep bragging.
Yeah, I did all that stuff. I'm really excited to be here. I have to apologize. I am in a hotel room in Philadelphia. We're down here filming. I tried to make my bed beforehand. I couldn't figure out how to get a nice background, but I haven't been in Zoom school like you guys, so you'll have to just accept my apology there. I am most fascinated, I would say, by the level of effort that went into making this year. And as you are graduating, and as student athletes, the importance of being able to do the things you love, of being able to work out, and all of the hard work you do from getting from the boathouse to school and from school to the boathouse, and how much harder that was made by the pandemic. So I just want you guys to know that I am so proud of you. And I don't know if that means anything to you, but it means a lot to me. And it definitely means a lot to US Rowing, because we value that you are, kids who may go on to be national team members someday. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I forgot to start my timer, so I can ramble on. But what is it that is important that I think about as you are moving forward? I asked Zeke what I should talk about, and he said, we would love some advice. And I said, that's a terrible idea, because I have in my life done all the wrong things at some point. But I think that fundamental to what is important as you move on is being coachable. And what do I mean by that? So we get a lot of advice in our life. And I was taught at a very young age to accept advice as a gift. This is someone saying, this is something that I see, and and I'm giving that to you. And I think that it's important, because whether or not you decide to make use of the advice, it's always good to think about the advice and to really analyze whether or not it's good for you. So, of course, I have to have an anecdote about this whole situation of accepting advice humbly and everything. And it was a time when I was really trying to make the national team. So I didn't have a route where I went straight out of college to the national team. I rode at clubs before I got good enough to actually be invited to camps. And one thing that I had to do was take a really big risk, right? I had to say, I'm leaving everything that I know and that is comfortable behind. And so I was rowing at Potomac Boat Club in Washington, D.C. at the time. And I was been talking to Jamie Coben, who was like a world champion, amazing rower at the time. And he said he was moving up to Boston to train up there. And, I was welcome to join him. And it was a big risk for me, because I didn't have a job in Boston. I didn't have family in Boston. I didn't have friends in Boston. But a good friend of mine and another national team rower, Mike Porterfield, said to me, Akil, this is a great opportunity. You need to do it. And so I moved up to Boston. I didn't have a car, so I rode my bike everywhere. I didn't have a boat, but I found a boat. I didn't have a place to live, but I found a place to live. And so it was a huge risk, and I took this advice from this guy. And why did I take this advice? And I'm up there. And so I found a job, I found a place to row, and I rode my bike everywhere. And that year, I made such tremendous leaps and bounds. Like, we started out the year and Jamie would give me a head start, like 5 boat lengths ahead. And throughout the year, I just rode so much. I lifted and I trained so hard. And by the end of the year, I noticed we were lining up, and he said, no, you don't get a head start anymore. And to me, that was like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. I'm sitting here lining up with someone who has won a world championship in the single sculls, and I am going to have the opportunity to train with him. And he's not giving me a head start anymore. So I tell that story. I think my time is running out. I tell that story because I think it's important to reflect on the advice that you get. when a coach asks, can you make this change? Can you make that change? When someone offers you a jewel or a nugget or anything that you think can help you advance where you're trying to get to, it's a good thing to do. Take the risk. Final story for you. This one is even cooler. So I'm training for the national team. I'm sorry, guys. I'm training for the national team, and I love to play music. I get an offer to go on tour with a band, right? And it's like 2 months. And I'm like, what am I going to do for 2 months? I've got to figure this out. I really want to go and do this because, like, when's the next time I'm going to be a rock star? When is that going to happen for me again in my lifetime? My parents wouldn't let me major in music. I had to study physics. I didn't have to, but anyway. Well, that's another story. We don't have time for that. Anyway, so I went to my coach at the time, Mike Tatey, and I said, hey, I want to go on tour. And he was like, it's your life. It's up to you. And I said, well, what happens when I get back? He says, like, depends on where you are, what your fitness is. And so I had to map that plan out. I had to say, all right, I'm living the rock star life, but I'm not living the rock star life. I'm going to get up and work out before we load up the van and go to our next place. So I did that for 2 months. I came back and I was still good enough to row. And I forgot why I'm telling you that story, but only because I got to play with James Brown. I got to play with G-Love and the Special Sauce, and I got to do a bunch of cool stuff. So take risks, be coachable, and know that I am really proud of you for all that you have accomplished this year. That's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Akil. I definitely want to hear more about your band tour at some point because that sounds amazing. I'm going to introduce myself to you guys, and then I'm going to say a little bit about graduation. So my name is Caitlin Gregian, and I am a coxswain on the U.S. women's rowing team. Last week I was just named to the 2020, they're calling it the 2020 Olympic team. So I'll be competing in Tokyo. I raced in the 2016 Olympics in Rio and won a gold medal in the women's 8. I failed to make the team in 2012. So speaking of risk taking, it was a big risk for me to try again. And I would agree with Akil that whenever you have the opportunity, definitely take a risk. I started rowing at Winter Park High School on the boys team, and I rowed for the men's team at the University of Washington. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm very excited to talk to you guys about graduating. I thought about this a lot, and I'm graduating soon from rowing. I'll be retiring in August. So this kind of is very special to me, and something that I've been thinking a lot about for myself and for my teammates, and for you guys, is that, a lot of us think of ourselves as rowers, and rowing is such a huge part of our identity. And I would imagine that most of you either got recruited to college for rowing, or you wrote an essay about rowing for your college application. It was probably a huge part of how you got into school. And I'm assuming, like, this is what I did. I wrote about how rowing imparted these ideals onto me. And rowing gave me this certain skill set to be a leader and to be a teammate and to work hard. Basically, that rowing made me who I am. And lately, I've been thinking that that's not true. I think that you guys became rowers because all of those characteristics are innate in your soul. And I don't think that rowing made you. I think that you made rowing. I think that every day you show up, you make rowing what it is for yourself, for your teammates, for the United States of America, for youth rowing, for collegiate rowing, wherever you are. And in that regard, when rowing is over for you, whether that is this season or after college, or I'm sure for some of you after the Olympics, rowing will never be over because you will always be those people that want to work really hard for very little reward. Like you train all year for a handful of races. And there's not a lot of sports that work out like that. So you're definitely okay with long-term gratification. You're okay with risk taking. You want to be part of a team. You want to be part of something bigger than yourself. You're not looking to be the hero, the star of the show. You want to be a contributor to the community. And you want to be someone who pours your whole heart into a singular focus or goal, which is, I think, scary and really hard to do. And, you know, in that way, rowing might feel like it defines you, but I think that you define rowing. And I think that whatever comes next for you, you're going to define it the same way. So whatever is next on your docket, if that is collegiate rowing, if it's joining a sorority or being part of a club or getting really into your academics, I think that you're going to bring with you all of the characteristics that made you so great at rowing and made you show up every day, probably very early, some of you. On Saturdays, I'm sure, on Sundays, I'm sure. And rowing in that regard will always be with you. And I just want you guys to know that I'm so proud of you, because this is a really special sport, and for doing it and doing it to the best of your ability, you guys are really special people. So that's what I wanted to say. And I'm so excited to see what you guys are going to do next. And I know it's going to be amazing. And with that, I'm going to introduce Zeke, our class speaker. I just met Zeke and he's pretty cool, you guys. Yeah, I know. He rowed for 4 years at Marin, and next year he's going to be rowing for Columbia University on the men's heavyweight team, so that's pretty exciting. Zeke is racing for the second time at Youth Nationals. The first time that he raced was in 2019. He raced in the varsity 8. And this year he's racing in the quad. It is his first time racing in the quad and his first time racing since last March. So that's pretty exciting. And I think Zeke also said that he was the coxswain of the boat. So you got this, man. Hit me up if you need any tips. One other great thing about Zeke is that he's really passionate about community service. And he founded a fall risk prevention program for senior citizens and independently raised $5,000 for the program. And he was telling me all about it. And he's involved in outreach, and he's involved in helping make the website and helping to keep the program going even after he leaves Marin. And I think that's really special. You know, it's not just raising the money and getting out of there. He's really committed to helping, so that's cool. Zeke, we're really excited to hear from you, and take it away.
Thank you so much, Caitlin and Aquil, for your amazing advice and wisdom. I know, I think all the seniors here appreciate that, and we could really use that as we move forward. And with that, I want to say good evening to everyone. As Caitlin said, I'm Zeke Johnson, a 4-year rower at Marin and a senior at Redwood High School. It is an honor to be celebrating all that my peers and I have achieved academically and athletically over the past 4 years. This year in particular has certainly been difficult. Across the country, we saw schools and boathouses had to adapt to COVID guidelines, which resulted in virtual schooling and altered practice schedules. But I think what was really amazing is that we saw that in the absence of fall and spring racing for many of us, we learned what truly motivates us in our demanding sport. I think for me, my motivation comes from my teammates. Starting off this year, I was in the single, and it quickly felt like I was erging on the water, constantly isolated by 6 feet of distance. And yet these hour-long practices helped keep me sane after the monotony of staring at a computer screen all day. This was largely in thanks to my close friends who had been my teammates for over 3 years, along with the first year varsity rowers who had barely started the sport, but were already making a huge impact. And along with my fellow veterans rowers, we definitely were reminiscing over the season we had lost in 2020, one which we had hoped would have been our best. And we had to wonder if we would have any semblance of a season this year. But fortunately, as we see now, we will. And I was completely in disbelief that it was already my 4th and final year at Marin, given that the time had gone by so fast and so quickly. But now at the end of this long and unusual year and season, many of us have the awesome opportunity to compete at the national level or at the regional level. And through all our hard work and resilience over the past years, I'm sure we can say that we have made a mark on our individual programs and set our younger teammates up for future success. And regardless of what our future rowing careers hold for us, whether we go to the Olympics or row in college or join a club at college or do something else, I think we should all be very proud of our great accomplishments. And this being said, let's continue to make some boats go fast. Thank you. And I also want to shout out my teammates at Marin and all the teammates in the quad and the other events, and good luck to everyone.
Well said.
Thank you, Zeke. Zeke, that was so amazing. And I just want to add that you really spoke to my heart, because this year off was also made me realize what motivates me, and it's my teammates. And thank you so much for saying that. I think that's really cool that that all of us from every level and from every place in the country are taking this time to feel so grateful for each other. That's really, really neat. To all of you guys that are here, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for our panelists, really great words of wisdom. And whatever you guys do next, I know it's going to be really awesome. Congratulations on everything that you have accomplished, and the best is yet to come.